And we are broadcasting live from the heart of the continental United States and sailing the steel breeze of the World Wide Web. This is the Nexus. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, thank you. And we are starting a new series, as the slate here suggests. We're going to call it the Genesis Series because something I've always wanted to do is discuss Genesis. And a much more, than we take the first 6 chapters in a week. There's a lot more to the text that I think is worthy of attention, and we're glad to have you here for it. So we're just going to do this until we can get enough of Genesis. You can never get enough Genesis. So we've got a few different Bibles here. I have a Koren Tanakh. I've got the JPS edition. We'll be looking at the JPS 1913 edition as well online. That's what we'll follow online. I've also got a Stone edition and a Gutnick edition Chumash, so we can get some commentary on that as well. And we'll just go with it. Genesis is a very important work in that it tells us how we got here. I know it's been a few thousand years since Genesis was written. I understand this, and I know where you're coming from, and that the world's changed a lot. But this is the root. This is the root of civilization and where it all comes from. Tonight's roots we spend in a cosmic affair because we are studying the beginning of the universe itself. And we don't spend but about 31 seconds on it. That's about it. That's all we spend is that. The rest is very, very rooted in the earth. But if God says, I am the creator of heaven and earth, you want some proof. I don't want to say you want proof, but you should ask questions. All right. You never know. You never know what, maybe you never know who you're talking to. What does God need with a starship, right? So, it's good to ask questions. Well, this is some extraordinary stuff. What we're going to be looking at here in the first chapter of Bereshit, aka Genesis, which means origins. We can say beginnings. That's nice, beginnings. I think it's in the beginning. Tonight's hangout's entitled, When God Began to Create, because it's in this. This was my first Bible that once I discovered Kabbalah, Tradition of Hidden Knowledge. This was what I went out and bought right after buying that, because you need to have a Hebrew scripture. This was a good price back in the day compared to the $20 a book Art Scroll series. 2030, I guess it was. This was all of it right here. It's but it's written. It's all in English. It's very Western style in its writing, and it even opens from what is that? Right to left, I guess that's how you say it. But this is a good one here. This is my first one, so I'm bringing it out. I don't do this often. And then we'll look at everything else. But I thought the opening line. By the way, thank you for tuning in. We're going to do this every Thursday here on Rumble Studio. We're also simulcasting on YouTube and X, and over there at the Orphans of Abraham on Facebook, private group of Torah-loving, a lot of non-Jewish Torah-loving folk, God-loving folk. And if you ever want to join, that's where you get the updates for this show and other shows that might pop up, and some good folks are running it. And so we're broadcasting all over the place tonight. And so thank you for tuning in. Although I know a lot of our folks, most of the folks actually, most of the numbers we get come after Shabbat, and some tomorrow and tonight. But we'll go ahead and put the link in the chat a little later on, because I just kind of want to get into this and not be bothered with technical difficulties and that sort of thing. So, without further ado, blessed are you, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who sanctifies us with his commandments, who allows us to reach this occasion. All right. And my readers, here we go. I just took some Windex to these bad boys the other day. And they got shined up real good. So, without further ado, let's just put this on. Let's get everything fixed up here. Here's the banner. We're going to turn the banner off for now because we're going to do a presentation. See, let me see if I can get this done right. We're going to move on over to. Let's try this again. So, open up a window to Genesis chapter 1 at one of my favorite places to read online, which is Mechon Mamre. MECHON-MAMRE. Mechon Mamre. So, well, that's odd. It's not letting me in today. Let's try this out. All right, well, then we'll do something else then. We'll bring you back in here. See if I can bring this tab back into Firefox here. And if so, it looks like I can't present now. It's always something, isn't it? It's always something, isn't it? All right. You know, this worked a little while ago. Before I went live, we'll try this one more time. Well, I'll be darned, y'all. This makes me very sad. Makes me very sad. I guess we could do it this way. I hope you're seeing this on your end. Let's go back to presentation. All right. I hope this works. Yes, it looks like it does. Okay. This is from Mechon Mamre. This is the 1913 JPS edition. Okay, now that we have this, just so you know where we're at, just so you can have something to read and know where we're at, we're gonna start off with chapter 1 of verse 1. Now, in this newer edition of the JPS Tanakh, it opens different, I think, than any other one we're going to see here tonight. And this is, by the way, 1985 translation. When God began to create heaven and earth, the earth being unformed and void, with darkness over the surface of the deep, and a wind from God sweeping over the water. Compare that to in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. Now the earth was unformed and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God hovered over the face of the waters. You're gonna the Koren Tanakh is much going to read the same way. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and a wind from God moved over the surface of the waters. Now, just going by the pshat of the translation, if it were true pshat, we'd be reading it in Hebrew. My Hebrew is not great, so I'm not even going to bother attempting it. We'd probably spend half the hangout with the first 6 or 7 words in the text. Just by what you're reading here, there's a little trick to the days of creation that allow one to understand it a little better and possibly a bit differently. It's all geocentric. It's all from the point of view of Earth. Right now, there is no Earth, or there is Earth, but it was unformed and void. But it was mentioned. Now the Earth was. See, we're already starting with something that hasn't even been formed yet. A good thing to look at also is Gerald Schroeder and his breakthrough discovery. He didn't discover. I don't know if he discovered it, but he took science and Torah and didn't change a bit of either of them and matched them up. Nothing changes. So if you have to start what we're going to be reading in the coming words here. It's geocentrism. We need to get back to that if we're going to have a healthy mind, a healthy spirit, if you will. No, I'm not saying soul. Okay, so we've gotten this in the Tanakh. I really prefer the JPS Tanakh translation of this first line better. I think it puts perspective, but it's my personal opinion. When God began to create heaven and earth, the earth being unformed and void, with darkness over the surface of the deep, and a wind from God sweeping over the water, God said, "Let there be light." Now let's go here to our Gutnick edition. Let's see what we can get into with these bad boys over here. Come on. All right. Move our JPS out of the way. Now this is nice too. Okay. This is out of the Gutnick, the old Gutnick, or the previous Gutnick. They have another one. We're reading out of this one here. In the beginning of God's creation of the heavens and the earth and their contents, when the earth was astonishingly desolate, darkness was on the surface of the deep, waters that covered the land, and the throne of God's glory hovered over the water at the command of God's breath. Okay. This is something interesting in the explanation. Torres Menachem. According to both Noahide law and Jewish law, land acquired as a result of military conquest is not considered to be stolen property. Therefore, the nations of the world could not possibly accuse the Jewish people of being robbers, merely due to the fact that they seized the land of Canaan. The reason why we're bringing this up is that Rashi answers that the stories which predate Exodus from Egypt and the giving of the Torah were recorded as proof to the nations of the world, or the nations of the world, that the land of Israel belongs to the Jewish people. This is also the contents of what Moses was reading. In Exodus, he's reading something called the Book of the Covenant. He reads that to the entire nation of Israel before going up to Sinai. Then the Book of the Covenant. Now let's get our good old stone edition Chumash over here. See what we got going on here, because they got a lot of great commentary. I like the organization of the commentary in the stone over the Gutnick in a lot of ways, and they don't have to put parentheses and everything like we do at Chabad.org. In the beginning of God's creating the heavens and the earth, when the earth was astonishingly empty, with darkness upon the surface of the deep, and the divine presence hovered above the surface of the water. Some commentary here out of the stone. In the beginning of God's creating, a commentary on that very beginning. The phrase is commonly rendered "in the beginning God created," which would indicate that the Torah is giving the sequence of creation, that God created the heaven then the earth, darkness, water, light, and so on. Rashi and Ibn Ezra disagree, however, and our translation follows their views. According to the Rambam and most other commentators, however, the verse is indeed chronological. It begins with a general statement. At the very first moment, from absolute nothingness, God created the heaven and the earth, i.e., the basic substance from which he had fashioned the universe as we know it, as expounded in the following verses. The chapter continues the day-to-day process until it reaches its climax in the creation of man, the prime goal of creation. Homiletically, the word Bereshit can be rendered Beshalel, Beshalel, Rashit. The world was created. I told you my Hebrew's terrible. I'm not supposed to be reading Hebrew, am I? The word can be referred to as the world was created for the sake of the things that are called beginning, meaning that God brought the world into being for the sake of things that are of such basic importance that the Torah calls them first or beginning. These things are the Torah and Israel, thus the reason for creation is that Israel would accept and fulfill the Torah. That's Rashi. The Midrash adds other things such as the commandments regarding the firstborn, first fruits, and the gifts to the Kohanim, which must be taken from crops and dough before they may be consumed. The implication is that the purpose of creation is to enable Jews to dedicate their first efforts of success in the service of God. And Elohim, God. The name, and this is when it's used as a name, denotes God in his attribute of justice as a ruler, lawgiver, and judge of the world. By using this name exclusively in the narrative of creation, the Torah indicates that justice is the ideal state of the world, meaning the man should be treated exactly as he deserves, according to his deeds. However, man is not virtuous enough to survive such harsh scrutiny. God added his attribute mercy to the story of creation so that judgment would be tempered with mercy. We'll see that in chapter 2, verse 4. Also, this is a palatable darkness. I think it's compared to the darkness that filled Egypt. It's not merely the absence of light. There is something other there. I think scientifically, I personally think dark matter might allow it. It was Isaiah 45:7. He who forms the light and creates darkness. It's also been implied, some sages say, that it was a mixture at this point of light and darkness until it was separated. Saying there's light brings light out of the darkness. Now it's interesting here. We have the created darkness, water, and light. Have you ever heard of something called sonoluminescence? It's something you might want to look into. Sonoluminescence is when they have liquid or in a controlled environment, whatever. They take liquid and they create a bubble, a vacuum, in the water. Once you can create a void, a vacuum in that bubble, you can hit it with sound waves and then light. It will make light. It will literally light up like a little star inside a bubble of water, in water. It's not a bubble, it's a void, a vacuum. And of course, nothing goes better with a after-work Bible than an after-work beer. So we are pouring our Kosher brew here. This is a Miller Lite or light beer by Miller. There's only one light beer, Miller Lite, and it's a kosher brew, which is nice. We are not anywhere near Passover, so beer is allowed at Levin's. So excuse me here. I can talk for hours at work. I can talk for, but when I get down here and I start reading, I start wanting to cough more. So, yeah, it's just something interesting. Avoid water and then light. We'll see how it goes. Okay, moving right along. Let me see if we're still sharing. Are we still going? We are still going. Okay, moving right along. Where is my 1985 JPS? God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and there was evening, and there was morning, a first day. A first day. I don't know. Let's get the Koran Tanakh. This has got to be one of the favored English translations, by the way. No commentary, both Hebrew and English, which is nice. But this is considered to be one of the best translations into English that you can get, that you can buy. Of course, you should always learn the mother language itself and learn it in that, but in the process. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light, and God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and there was evening, and there was morning, one day. Not a first day or the first day, as Christian translations we'll read. It was one day. All right, going to get out my Gutnick. I'm going to be stacking up Kumashim here before too long. Our Gutnick, the previous Gutnick edition. God said, "Let there be light." No and. You'll notice some have and, some people don't. Some translations don't. And there was light. God saw that the light was good, and God separated the times of light from the times of darkness in the following manner. God called out to the light and assigned it to be day, and he called out to the darkness and assigned it to the night. No, something else back here. That's from the Seches Shabbos Bereshit 57:43, chapter 36. One day it became evening and it became morning one day. That's how it ends. It became evening and it became morning one day. All right. And here in our Stone edition, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God called to the light day, and to the darkness he called night. So he's calling out. I think that's interesting. And there was evening and morning one day. So that's one day. Okay. It's never the first day. There was never a first day. That's not exactly what it reads. It's a Yom. Um, So it would be echad. Okay, yeah. One. It's just one. One echad. One day. Not a first day, not the first day. It just says one day. On verse 3 commentary out of the Stone Edition. This verse begins a detailed chronology of creation, but as noted above, the narrative of creation is beyond our comprehension. The commentary will be limited to a brief selection from pertinent authors. God saw that the light was good. According to the Midrash, the original light was of an intense spiritual quality, and God saw that the wicked were unworthy of enjoying it. Therefore, he separated it from the rest of the universe and set it aside for use of the righteous of the world to come. Throughout the narrative, the term that it was good means that the creation of the item under discussion was completed. Thus, for example, the light was described as good because its existence and function were now final. The waters, however, did not receive their final form until the third day, when they gathered into seas and oceans. Consequently, they were not called good until day 3. And there's evening and morning. This is why Jews start their holidays at sundown, because darkness came before light. So that's how they mark the day. All right. One day. So if we look at cosmology, modern cosmology, there was nothing but what we would call light. It was super intense. The beginning, that fraction of a fraction of a fraction to the 300th negative power, whatever. They got this. It's very short, but that moment, light filled everything. It wasn't until particles gained mass that time locks on. But it filled the universe and then condensed back. And the universe kept expanding, but everything kept contracting. The light would contract as the universe expands. Kabbalistically, they call it Zimzum, the contraction, but that's the contraction of God's presence in the world. So they say. Considering that science shows pretty much the same thing, modern cosmology. I think that's a big deal right there. Okay, moving right along. All right, where are we at? 6. Verse 6. Let's get back into our JPS Tanakh. And we'll open up the room here. We'll open up the room. We'll see if anybody wants to come in and chat. Again, look what we're doing here. Hey, hi. It's freaky spaced out time here at the Nexus. And we'll go over here to our live chat. That's live chat. And we're going to send this on all platforms. It says it gives them to all, but not all of us gets over there to X. When not to. Why not to? Let me see if I can get you. All right, not in there. How you doing? There's a link. Come on in. Come on in. I believe this is Rosalie. I'll give you a second here. I'll be watching around and see if we'll give Rosalie a minute to get in here if she's still watching. We'll move that out of the way a little bit here and throw up our banner So you're going to get to see here the reason why I wanted to bring all these books out, all these Bibles, these Humashim, is so we can get a more well-rounded look at the text and how it's presented to the non-Jew or the world, I should say. But if it's in English, it's for the non-Jews. Okay, um, Torah observant, Jewish people know the language. It's been in their lexicon. It is their lexicon since since one theory is it's the mother language. Like it's the language spoken by Noah. It's the language spoken by Shem and Abraham. We don't know this. It's the one that would survive Babylon or Babel. So it could definitely be the mother tongue. But that just doesn't always pan out. But it is the mother tongue. And if you want to learn Torah proper, you learn it from the original Hebrew. Rosalie, are you there? Rosalie's in the house. She's just quiet at the moment. Glad to have you in here, Rosalie. I'm going to go ahead and get back into. There
Yeah,
she. Wow. Let me turn you down.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
That was
Check.
loud. I can hear you fine.
No, okay, good. Yeah, I was sitting there. It's Wino too.
Wino 2? Okay.
Yes,
Like Wonderful Wino Radio, WINO? Nope.
kind of, sort of. Well, when we first started with electronics and computers, my girlfriend had her computer and she wanted to do Wino, WINO, but it was already taken. I said, well, why don't you put WINO? See if that works. It did. It stuck. I said, well, I want to be a Wino too. And so instead of using letters, it's WINOTOO.
Gotcha.
1997.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was going to get to verse 5 in Genesis here, Genesis chapter 1. I've got I don't know if you've been watching, I've got everything out. I've got all the good books out. I've got the Koran Tanakh, JPS. I'm showing the old JPS 1913 on screen here, and both my Chumash open.
There's
So
there's the link to the Torah portion if anybody wants it.
okay, let me see if we
Good
can
Lord, how
get
many
out.
pages? Yeah,
Oh yes, okay, that's going out to everybody. Yes. Okay, yes, that is today's Torah portion. But we're in Genesis today, so we'll be in Genesis for a while, I think. And chapter 5, and God called the light day and the light night. Okay, and there was evening, morning, day 1. We're in verse 6. Here we go.
I want to throw in something that is an oral Torah tradition amongst some of the Jewish people, at least of Sephardim anyway. They say, well, they have always said that the Torah was written 1,000 generations before man was created. It was already done and over with. Same with same with the world stuff. He had everything already created and made. He just didn't place it yet. Just like when Moses and the plagues were there with fire and ice. God didn't use all the fire and ice. It's still, some of it's still there, and it's still in the heavens, waiting to be dropped, because he didn't use it all.
Well, that makes sense because there was already the substance, that says the earth was void, but he mentions earth. I mean, really, he could just said there's nothing but void. Everything was void, but he mentions
Think
the
of it
earth
like a
being
puzzle.
unformed.
Yeah, think of it like, those color form puzzles where, where you used to dress all the dolls and all that with the plastic, layovers and all that. Something
I
like
didn't
that.
do dolls.
Well, I know, but I know you've seen them and I know you know what that is. So it's like, think of that. And he's already had everything created, but in this word of creating, he is actually putting it into play. He's already had the model for the earth. He already had all this. He's just now putting all the other pieces together. Like a like
Mhm.
a you know like like layovers and things like that. So
Yeah,
that's
that makes sense. I mean, it goes along with what a couple things I read earlier,
hmm
that earth, light and darkness were actually a mixture.
hmm
God separated the 2. It's
right.
heavy stuff.
Yes, it
All
is.
right.
I
Number
mean, if you
6.
if you can measure the weight of a mountain by a grain of sand, you got to know something's going on. Something's
True.
going on.
Okay, verse 6. God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the water, that it may separate water from water." God made the expanse and separated the water which was below the expanse from the water which was above the expanse. So, all right. So that's JPS. Then we go to our fantastic Koran Tanakh. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the water from water." And God made the firmament and divided the waters from which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. Okay, so expanse and firmament. I'm just for giggles, I want to Google and get a definition. Firmament, heaven, sky, especially in regards to a tangible thing. Ooh.
hmm
A sphere or a world viewed as a collection of people. Okay. So that's firmament.
hmm
Oh my goodness. It was a TV once, so that's everything it wants to give you.
hmm
An area of something, typically land or sea, presenting a wide, continuous surface. A wide, continuous surface. Okay. Let's get back. Um, Here in our let's do the Gootnik. Where are we at? Gootnik, come here, Gootnik. And God said, "Let the firmament materialize between the waters, and let it separate between the upper waters and the lower waters." God made the firmament fixed in its position. He separated between the waters that were below the firmament and the waters that were above the firmament by suspending the upper waters in midair, and it remained that way. And God called the firmament sky, and it became even, and it became evening, and it became morning, a second day. Let's move over to the stone. God said, "Let there be a firmament." Okay, so we've got 3 firmaments and 1 expanse. God made the firmament which and separated between the waters which were beneath the firmament and waters which were above the firmament. It was so, and God called the firmament heaven. And there was an evening and there was a morning, a second day. I want to get to that word heaven because it's in quotations here in the Stone edition. Go back here over here. Hang on a minute. Well, there's not one on there. The word heaven here, another one of those mixed things. I'm trying to see if I can get a commentary out of here.
You got to scroll that up a little bit.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, it's not saying it. So, he called the waters above heaven, but it's actually I think it was Rashi who saw that it was a combination of the word for fire and water. It was a mixture. It was a compound word, basically, if you will, which could explain plasma, because plasma functions like a liquid. Everyone thought it was gas, but it actually behaves like a liquid. But I can't find that. Rabino Bachya also
Well,
comments on.
8 turns around and says, and God said in this thing here, and God called the firmament heaven. Here you go. And number 8.
Sky. Who was it that said Sky? We had Sky up earlier too.
Mm-hmm.
Where was I at? Oh yeah. Rabinu Bachya also comments on why the Torah does not state that the achievements of the second day were good. He states that this is because the creation of the angels and the firmament through though momentous, were not the prime purpose of creation. Rather, the prime purpose of creation is the lower world, the world where man does his work of bringing God's plan to fruition. Only when man's interests are served do the heavens and the heavenly beings justify their existence. The righteous are the righteous are greater than the ministering angels. That's out of Sanhedrin 93a.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was not good. It will be, but not quite yet. Moving on, verse 9. Back to the old new JPS. I guess it was good. Oh wait, this guy in there was the second day. God said, this is verse 9. God said, let the water below and the sky gathered. Let the water below. That's all, folks. Let the water. Now I lost my place. My goodness.
9.
Let the water below the sky be gathered into one area, that the dry land may appear. And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the gathering of the waters he called seas. And God saw this was good. That's the first part of day 3. Let the waters of the sky be gathered, below the sky be gathered into one area. And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together in one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. So we're probably going to get the same. This looks pretty cut and dry. God said, let the water that is below the skies gather into one location, and let the dry land appear. And this is what happened. That's gooting it for you. God called the dry land earth, and he called the gathering of the waters sea. And God saw that the work of the second and third days was good. But we're not done. Wait, there's more.
That's right.
Earth and seas. I'm surprised it's plural in all of it. Let the earth sprout forth vegetation, seed-bearing plants, fruit trees of every kind, on earth that bear fruit with the seed in it. And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, seed-bearing plants of every kind, and trees of every kind bearing fruit with the seed in it. And God saw that this was good. And there was an evening and morning, a third day. Here's that third. We're getting real specific there again. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, herb yielding seed, and a fruit tree yielding fruit after its kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And let the earth And the earth brought forth grass, herb yielding seed after its kind, and tree yielding fruit whose seed was in itself after its kind. Isn't that interesting? It puts a vision of like those Russian dolls. The fruit tree yielding fruit after its kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, herb yielding seed. God saw that it was good, and there was an evening, and there was a morning, a third day. Well, let's see if I can get some commentary out of the. All right.
That kind of just answers the question: who came first, the chicken or the egg? The chicken.
Yeah, I guess so. Um, Dry land. This is interesting. Verse 9, and let dry land appear. Commentary is the earth had been created on the first day, but it was neither visible nor dry until the waters were commanded to assemble in their designated areas. The word earth in verse 10, this is the name from I guess is rock to desire, i.e., it desired to do God's will. Earth, the name of earth given in 10, it's Aleph Resh Ayin. I think it's an Ayin. Yeah,
This just kind of makes you think.
is that it's
Verse
a
9. It's like, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place and let the dry land appear. Thing is, the water must not have been wet if the dry land was to appear. So the water couldn't become wet until God said be wet.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's the way I'm looking at it. Because there's, I mean, if it would have been just been land appear, but it specifically says dry land.
Yeah,
So the waters must not have been wet yet.
I guess there was no concept of wet. Ha!
He had it
Here
all
it
in a
is.
he had it all in a
Yeah.
baggie, and he was gonna, he was gonna let it loose eventually.
Um, why did God call the firmament skies in verse 8? This is out of the Gutnick edition. I was looking
Mhm.
for it elsewhere. Rashi, it is Rashi. The
Right.
Hebrew word for skies is a combination of different words. Bear water, there is water, and fire and water. He mixed them together and made the skies from them. Like BEAR water. Not BARE water. This is a family show.
Mhm.
And fire and water. Yeah, there it is. So that's the heavens, or what we say heaven, what it's called heavens, and they put it in quotation marks, um, is actually a combination of different words.
Mhm.
Fire and water. Um, yeah, God made wet on day 3. That's not bad. Um, yeah. This is good too. This is good too because it's going to get into Genesis 2 later. And the earth
Mhm.
brought forth. The Talmudic sage Rav Asi noted the apparent contradiction between this verse and the Torah's statement that nothing had grown prior to the creation of Adam in chapter 2, verse 5. He explains that the herbs began to grow on the third day as they had begun, as they had been commanded, but stopped before they broke through the soil. It remained for Adam to pray for them, whereupon rain fell
Mhm.
and the ground was completed. This teaches that God longs for the prayers of the righteous. Chulin 60b. That's interesting. Or he takes from the ground to make man. Just like, man came from the ground, the plants came from the ground. I always saw that as a marker of before the earth broke up, then Adam began to be created, but
Scroll
didn't
up.
have the breath of life blown into him until the end of day 6, when a lot more cosmic stuff is happening. He said he began to create him on that day. It doesn't say he was finished on that day.
Correct.
So, but still, Ravasi makes a really good point. Because without man, it wouldn't be worth growing. But, you know what? That's a good time to stop because we're about at the end of it. We'll bring this back down to here,
Okay.
and we can end with a Haftorah reading. What do you say?
Works for me.
Dora's Day. Let's the link that's provided in the where's it over here? In the chat is where we're going right now. If you're watching this on Facebook and or X and you do not get the link, just head on over to Rumble at the Idol Smasher, and you'll see us live, and you can pick that out there on the side. But yeah, we'll do a Haftorah. We got some time. We got about 5 minutes. This is Obadiah chapter 1.
Mm-hmm.
For Vayishlach, the Torah reading for today, which was Genesis chapter 32, verse 4 through 36
Mm-hmm.
So read that. We read it all the time, but we'll just do a Haftorah right now. We're in Genesis, but let's keep with the current times here. The vision of Obadiah. So said the Lord God concerning Edom: We have heard tidings from the Lord, and the messenger has been sent among the nations. Arise and let us rise up against them in war. Behold, I have made you small among the nations. You are very despised. The wickedness of your heart enticed you, who dwell in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, who says to himself, Who will bring me down to the earth? If you go up high like an eagle, and if you place your nest among the stars, from there will I bring you down, says the Lord. Why the waters below? It's for man, because all the good stuff happens below the firmament. Man's place is below the firmament.
Mm-hmm.
That earlier today too. Did thieves come upon you? Did plunderers did plunderers of the night? How are you silent? Will they not steal till they have enough? If vintegars came upon you, would they not leave over some gleaning grapes? How Esau was searched out, how his hidden things were revealed. Until the border, all your allies escorted you, your friends enticed you, yea, prevailed against you for food. They lay as a wound under you. There is no discernment in them. Shall I not in that day, says the Lord, destroy wise men from Edom and discernment, from the mountain of Esau? And your mighty men shall be dismayed, O dwellers of the southland, in order that every man be cut off from the mountain of Esau by slaughter. Because of the violence of your brother Jacob, shame shall cover you, and you shall be cut off forever. On that day you stood from afar. On the day strangers captured his possessions and foreigners came into his cities, and on Jerusalem they cast lots. You too are like one of them. And you should not have looked on the day of your brother, on the day of his being delivered, and you should not have rejoiced about the children of Judah on the day of their destruction. You should not have spoken proudly on the day of distress. You should not have come into the gate of my people on the day of their misfortune. You too should not have looked at their affliction on the day of their misfortune, and you should not have stretched out your hand upon their possessions on the day of their misfortune. You should not have stood by the gap to cut off their fugitives, neither should you have delivered their survivors on the day of distress. For the day of the Lord over all the nations is close, as you have done shall be done to you. Your recompense shall be turned upon your head. For as you drank on my holy mountain, shall all the nations drink constantly, and they shall drink and not be stunned, and they shall be as they were not. And on Mount Zion there shall be a remnant, and it shall be holy, and the house of Jacob shall inherit those who inherited them. And the house of Jacob shall be fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau shall become stubble. And they shall ignite them and consume them, and the house of Esau shall have no survivors, for the Lord has spoken. And the inhabitants of the southland shall inherit the mountain of Esau, and the inhabitants of the plain the Philistines. And they shall inherit the field of Ephraim, and the field of Samaria and Benjamin, with the inhabitants of Gilead. And this exiled most of the children of Israel who were not with the Canaanites as far as Zarephath, and the exile of Jerusalem, which is in
Sepharad.
Sepharad, shall inherit the cities of the southland. The survivors shall ascend Mount Zion to judge the mountain of Esau, and the Lord shall have the kingdom.
That's saviors, not survivors.
Oh my goodness. I guess I need better glasses. Or brighter light or something. I need a different light too.
You know the beer.
And Savior, no, I don't. I haven't even gotten halfway down my first one of the night. Actually, that might loosen me up a little. And survivors shall ascend Zion to judge the mountain of Esau. Saviors shall ascend Mount Zion, and the Lord shall have his kingdom. This has happened.
Uh-huh.
This is everything you're reading happened. It's happening now.
Yep.
Can you believe it?
Yep.
I'll say it again. 200 years ago, I think every Jew in the world would have laughed at you that this was happening. That they're there, they're staying, everybody's trying to kick them out. They're not going anywhere.
Right.
Obadiah, 587 BCE, whatever. The Common Era, before the, something else. Because Edom does take Jerusalem. About 400 some odd years later, the temple's destroyed and Romans rule it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not normal text, y'all. Prophecy is not just a story. It's real written prophecy is not a story.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to pick up with day 4, or a fourth day, next week. Rosalie, any final words before we move along?
Just everybody have a great weekend. Shabbat shalom to those who participate.
Shabbat shalom.
Enjoy the full moon that's coming.
Yes. Had a nice big CME, coronal mass ejection today, and if anybody noticed that there were flights out, it was when was this? It was Thanksgiving. Yeah. 6,000 jets were grounded. Airbus were grounded.
Wow.
Because of the radiation. When we have these little coronal mass ejections, when we get these storms that stir things up, you can get radiation poisoning, being that high
Mhm.
in the sky. 6,000 planes grounded because of that.
Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm.
They say during the time of the end of the days, the sun will show its true power to the world.
Yeah, well, they don't want to be in the sky if there's going to be anything that's going to happen with the radio waves and air traffic controllers not being able to talk to anybody or computers going down either.
Yeah, you get
Computers
a lot
getting
of noise.
fried. Yeah, computers getting fried and all that too.
So we hope to see you back here next Thursday. We'll keep reading. We like you to join in. Once again, I'm James. This is Rosalie, and
Hey,
this has been the Nexus. We'll see you next week. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.